And I brought in really a piece of, for lack of a better word, is women's lingerie. And I said, do you make anything like this, of this synthetic stretchy material? Because it was like the girdles that we wore on the lower half of our body. And said, what if you made that for the upper body? And the woman at the store at Minnesota Fabrics in College Park, she handed me a bolt of fabric, and I bought what she had. I then took this stretchy synthetic fabric to a local tailor in Beltsville, Maryland, and I brought in a tight little White Hanes t-shirt. I said, sir, can you make me as many t-shirts that look like this, but out of this fabric? And 7 prototypes later, I took them back to my teammates at University of Maryland in the spring of '96, and they tried them, they liked them.
All right, so they made the equipment for you, the t-shirt. How did you sell it? Where did you go to sell it?
I started with the guys and found out, will this idea hold? And the players at Maryland said that they loved them. Where could they get more? And I then knew I needed to learn how to manufacture, so I read about this place called the Garment District in New York City. I got in my '92 Ford Explorer and drove up to 34th and 5th Avenue, parked my car, and found a place that could buy fabric. I found a place that could manufacture, and I made my first run of 500 shirts, and then sent 3 t-shirts out to everybody that I knew and ever played with.
And your car was still there when you came back, right?
No, it was actually towed. It was expensive.
Okay. All right, so you have the garment, it's being manufactured, and then your job is to go on the road and basically sell it to athletes, more or less, your team. So was that hard?
I put 48 and 51,000 miles on my car in '97 and '98 respectively, and then I started working my way up to airplane tickets and things like that to move around. But yeah, I did do these great tours, but that's a lot of miles.
Now, you are the youngest of 5 brothers?
Yeah.
So did your older brothers say, you're crazy, go get a job, or what did they say about this?
A little bit of that. Not really that nice. But no, they said it. No, I mean, I had a tremendous amount of support from my family. Was great, but everybody had their own thing, so I was doing my thing. And Under Armour was, it wasn't obvious. People started and they call and they trip over the name as, what's that thing you're doing? Armour All, Underarm. They would.
Oh, by the way, where did the name come from?
It wasn't intuitive until about 7 years in. It was actually one of my brothers when I was going to actually name the company and call it. I wanted to call the company Body Armor. And this is from, I wanted to call the company Heart. I thought that'd be a great name. You keep heart here, you wear heart on your sleeve. I thought it was a good name. I had a friend that worked at the Patent Trademark Office, a guy named Patrick Herson, and he ran all of my searches for me. This is before the internet. And that name came back full, and then I had to name the company Body Armor. And I was not good with a secret, and I started telling people I'm going to call the company Body Armor. It was about a 2-week hold between telling people or announcing the name and actually finding out if I could get it. And in that time, I came back and I found out there's 2 ballistic vest manufacturers called Body Armor. There's a body shop in New Jersey called Body Armor. You'll never get it through. And I went to go see my oldest brother, and he was an architect, and he was at his desk, and he said, "You ready to go to lunch?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "How's that thing you're working on?" I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "What do you call it?" "Under Armour." And I said, "Under Armour." I said, "I can't do lunch. I got to go." I went home. Filled out the paperwork, bought the 800 number and the website.
But they tell you that Armour is spelled A-R-M-O-R.
Yes, but for an 800 number, because I didn't know if this internet thing was going to stick in '96. 8884 A-R-M-O-U-R or 8884 A-R-M-O-R. So I opted for the old English version.
All right. So you got the name of the company. Where'd you get the money initially? From the Rose business, or did you get investors? Where'd you get your initial money?
Investors. Yeah, this is before private equity, but I had $17,000 startup capital that I used, and then it was just friends and family. And there were moments of selling, a percent in the company or 5% of the company for $5,000. It was whatever we could do just to get the company started, just some way, somehow.
All right, so when you're starting this company, does Phil Knight of Nike call you up and say, "Hey, by the way, it's too competitive in this business, you shouldn't get into this business," or did he ever pay attention to you?
I don't know.
He wasn't paying attention to you?
You always have interests, and so I thought about the number of times that we've been talked about buying, acquisitions, things like that, and I've always had a very simple philosophy, is that if anyone ever offered us an amount of money, and I'm a fiduciary first and foremost to my shareholders, if anyone ever offered me an amount of money greater than what I believed I could get the company to, I wouldn't be my choice, it'd be my obligation to make the right decision, but I have yet to see that happen. So we go back to work every day.
All right, so you're growing the company. What other products line extensions they would call them, what other products did you build?
We let the consumer lead us. It was, we have a saying at Under Armour is that, we've yet to build a defining product as a brand. And so that's something that challenges everyone in our product teams, our marketing teams, is making sure that they're working toward the next great innovation. And it's the consumer who tells us. You know, our first product began as a tight-fitting T-shirt for the summer, and all of a sudden it was, can you make something for warm weather? Can you make long sleeves? Could you make shorts? And then you have this ethos or essence that becomes the brand that needs to translate through every product that we build. And it comes, the essence and that consistency, that continuity is that's what brand is. And so whether it is a shirt or a short, elite level, and the shoe you're wearing, I mean, it's a connected shoe, which is one of the first connected, or the only connected running shoe ever built, which means it has a chip in it that you don't have to take your phone for a run to track where you're going. So that shoe actually has an app that comes with it. You download the app, you can leave your phone at home, you can walk outside, it could tell you your distance, your split, your cadence, and your gait. And so the distance is how far, and it can make recommendations. You could run faster if you shortened your gait, lengthened your gait, and gives real-time coaching. And so it's really, and it ties into our connected fitness platform, which today has over 250 million people as part of it.
Well, I'm sure I could run faster by 8 less or whatever else, but probably that's not the major factor.
It won't critique you. It'll just encourage you.
So what about great athletes? Now, when you try to sign up these athletes, everybody knows since Michael Jordan, well, I guess Stan Smith had a famous tennis shoe that was made by Adidas, I guess.
Still does.
And it's still out there. And then Michael Jordan's shoe became famous, so everybody realized that we have an athlete endorse a shoe, it can help sell the shoe. But to get these athletes to do this, you have to basically pay them money, right? They don't do it for free.
It's nice when they start because they love the brand, because they love the product. And so, you know, Jordan Spieth is a great example of an athlete who, you know, he's an athlete, he played football and baseball and basketball growing up, and he loved Under Armour. And that's why he wanted to sign with our brand. You know, Stephen Curry was, you know, an athlete who came to us he'd already signed one NBA contract with Nike, and then he made the decision to switch to Under Armour. And so there's a certain type of athlete that decides to be an Under Armour.
Now, how did he decide to pick Under Armour over the others?
Truth be told, it was actually his 3-year-old daughter Riley at the time who made the decision. So this is actually a pretty cool story. So Stephen, when making the decision, he had offers from all 3 brands, and Stephen was, you know, the 7th pick in the draft, and his 3 years had gone by, and he didn't feel he was getting the love really from the brand he was with at the time. So to make the decision, he put all 3 shoe boxes with a shoe on top, each shoe that we had projected for him. And he said, you know, Riley, I need to help make this choice. Tell me what you think. And he sent maybe she was 1 or 2 actually. And she got up and sort of hobbled over there. And she picked up the first shoe, which is the Adidas shoe. She picked it up, looked at it, threw it over her shoulder. She sort of waddled over to the second Nike shoe and picked it up and threw it over her shoulder. And then she picked up the Under Armour shoe, walked back and said, "This one, Daddy."
Wow.
So.
And did you have to pay her too, or just?
I mean, you might. It's not a bad idea.
No.
I wish it were that easy today.
Okay. So, all right, so the athlete has to like the product, but obviously they like to be compensated for it. But in the end, you know, when children or young adults are buying athletic equipment or apparel, they might be induced to do so by Michael Jordan endorsing it. But for somebody my age or older people, are they really going to be induced to buy something because Michael Jordan endorses it, or really it does work for people like me?
Are we targeting you? We'd like you. I'm not saying we are, we're not, but our mission statement says to make athletes better. And our ambition for doing that is when you can outfit the best and people that really care about every ounce, every nuance of a product that comes in. I think that trust is something that builds credibility, that allows the inspiration. Because do you care or not, but it's nice to know that the very best, this is what they choose to wear when they're performing at the highest level.
Now the products, where are the products made? There's a perception that all these athletic products and apparel are made, let's say in Asia, they're all made at the same kind of places, and these people are paid very low wages, and in the end, the same factory makes things for you, Nike and Adidas. Is that true or not?
I think that the global manufacturing process is something that is it's critical to, I think, growing and creating, you know, second world and first world economies. You watch what's happened in China, the elevation of the minimum wage. When I made my first trip to China in 1999, you know, Guangzhou was a hot manufacturing bed. Today, Guangzhou is the #3 tier 1 city in all of China. And it's been that transition that it got there through manufacturing. So I think it's something, it's all relative, but you know, this is something we take great pains that we do when we're evaluating, making sure that the shops meet the standards, and deliver things the way that we want them to be
But
delivered.
sometimes your products are made in the United States or not.
Of course, it's a very small percentage today. We gave up on that a long time ago.
So let's talk about Baltimore. You're from the Washington suburbs, Kensington initially, and you went to University of Maryland, which is in College Park, more or less a suburb of Washington. Why did you decide to locate the headquarters of your company in Baltimore, which is my hometown? It's a great city, but wasn't a natural place for you to locate a headquarters, or was it?
I think two things. Number one, there was something about the grid of the city that was appealing to me. Remember, I moved there in August of 1998. Made the decision to move from Georgetown with my partner Kip Falks, and when we moved, it felt like it was sort of a fresh breath. It felt like it was the grid of Baltimore was sort of this lunch pail, work boot, chip on your shoulder, and that's really what I wanted the brand to be. And so there was a reflection there. The second thing was being the youngest of 5 boys, growing up here. I had a lot of history in this town. It was nice just to get a fresh start in Baltimore as a place close enough to mom, but far enough away to really start with a clean sheet of paper.
So no skeletons in your closet in Baltimore, right?
No, it was starting over and starting fresh and building something great.
So today, how many employees do you have around the world?
A little more than 14,000.
14,000. How many are in Baltimore area?
So when Kip and I moved, it was Kip and I, we went there with 2 employees, and then today there's probably 3,500, 4,000 between corporate and one of our main warehouses that we have there as well, or distribution house.
You've been very involved in philanthropy in many different areas, but one is in Baltimore, and now you outfit at your own cost the athletes of all the Baltimore City public schools. Is that right, more or less?
What I think is neat is the unique thing about an Under Armour is that we have the ability to connect with kids in a way that other brands don't. So, a bank or an insurance company, it's nice, but kids want to be around our brands. We have the ability to take advantage of that. And so the things that we do to activate is, we have things that every one of our teammates, as we call them, contributes 32 hours a year, and we have something we call Armour Days, which we did one this year. We put 12,000 hours of man and woman power together to actually transform 3 middle schools in Baltimore City. We built a rec center called UA House on Fayette Street. Outfitting all of the high schools is critical, and then for me personally, the ability to touch up to 500 kids through summer programming, tuition assistance, college education college, and other things, as well as there's somebody here named Joe Jones from the Center for Urban Families that works with formerly incarcerated individuals that get brought out. So the ability to actually affect both lives before and lives that need another opportunity are some of the things I think that we're taking on and really trying to make a difference of in Baltimore City.
All right, so you started your company in 1997, is that right?
6.
And you took the company public in 2005. At the IPO, when you price an IPO, the theory is you want the investors to make some money, so they buy it at price A and it goes up by 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
So they feel good that the first day they're up 10 or 15%. So the underwriter's job is to price it so it goes up a little bit. Your underwriters priced it in a way where your stock went up on the first day 100%. So did you leave a lot of money on the table or what?
Potentially, but what the bankers will tell you is that going public, and what I'll tell other entrepreneurs going public, it is a starting line. But I'll tell you, leaving that much money on the table certainly wasn't ideal. And it was an email that I got from a certain private equity, somebody that you know, well, I don't know if I'll use their name, but he sent me an email because we had this great meeting and he said, oh my gosh, I love the company. On the IPO, it was our second or third to last meeting after 77 one-hour one-on-one meetings on the road show. And I said, I really like this guy. I told the bankers, I said, they need a bigger allocation, give him a bigger allocation. He said, he's a smaller fund, you shouldn't give him the big allocation. I said, no, I'm mandating you do it. At this point, they're saying, okay, fine, we'll give him a bigger allocation. I then get an email 2 days after the IPO. It just said, dear Kevin, love meeting you. Thanks so much. Congratulations on your brand. Unfortunately, you blew through all of our investment parameters, so I had to sell everything. And he doubled his price basically and sold out of the stock the next day, which was a great lesson of sort of going public, is that a trade is a trade. So the market it doesn't see that potential. It sees, here's my investment parameters, and here's your PE, and here's how we're going to.
In other words, he didn't love you, he just wanted to get a little money. And
he did what hedge funds did, is he made money.
Okay, all right, so the first day the stock goes up 100%. That's, I guess, makes you feel good. On the other hand, you left a lot of money on the table, but your company's in good shape. And then for, I think it's roughly 26 consecutive quarters, your revenue went up 20% a quarter. So that's very unusual to keep going up that way. At what point did you realize you just couldn't keep doing that?
We had a great run from 2010 through 2016 roughly. With that kind of growth was something that had never really been seen in consumer retail before. We achieved crossing 500 million or billion or faster than any other brands had done in our space. And in our industry, there's only 2, now 3 or 4 companies that have crossed the $5 billion threshold. And when the other companies they didn't have a 25 or $35 billion juggernaut sort of above them. That run was one where I think we had a lot of ideas of how large we could be. And doing that, it never took away from how great that we knew the company could be either. And that's always the focus. You want to build a great brand. But in doing it, when you have that opportunity is grabbing, we called the era for us was called Get Big Fast. And Get Big Fast was in 2013, we were a $2.3 billion company. And we effectively, from 13 to 16, we went from 2.3 to $4.8 billion. We more than doubled the size of our company in less than 3 years. And that puts all kinds of strain because this isn't software that just leverages out the backside. This is infrastructure and facilities and boxes and buildings and a lot of things that I think we made a great run, and I think we allowed to put ourselves in a position of scale that's allowed us to really live through the last 2 years in a place that's stronger than we could have ever been had we not grown at that rate.
Your company was growing quite nicely. The stock price was going up. In fact, today your market value is about $9.5 billion, more or less, but it was almost double that at one point.
Yeah.
So when it started going this way, did you think you had to reinvent your company, or what did you decide to do?
I think every great company, every great brand will come to a crossroads where they have to decide how are you going to attack it. And I believe that that's something that we've taken on. We'll call it a transformation. And as we've said publicly, is that we're roughly 2 years through. We'll call it a 3-year transformation. And that meant a lot of restructuring charges, a lot of reorganizations. We had to, unfortunately, do some rifts in our company. And in going through all that process, it's made us a better and stronger company. And I think about the 3 things that we've leaned on, which has been people, process, and product. In people, it begins with my new partner. I brought in a new COO and president named Patrick Frisk. He's coming up on 18 months and has been excellent helping us transform, implement a go-to-market process, deliver a new operating model, really just getting our structure and getting, I think, our costs in line so that we can be as excellent and profitable on the bottom line as we've been able to demonstrate we can do for growth in the top line. And then process has been implementing new systems, getting our people aligned to that, and then whoever makes the best product is going to win. So that's one thing we know, that regardless of everything else, if we make great product, like we recently did with this footwear called Hover that we've launched into the world, the consumer's going to choose it, and we'll be there, and we have a real chance.
So you are not in the athletic equipment business, unlike some of your competitors. Like I think, let's say Nike, they make some athletic equipment. Why are you not in that business? You're in the apparel business.
Equipment's a tough business, and there's lower margins. It's not as compelling or attractive. And I think that we effectively believe that we bring equipment. Our footwear is not just another shoe. It's a shoe that comes with an app. It's a shoe that actually will help coach you to make you better. Our apparel isn't just apparel that wears because it's stylish or cool. It should be stylish or cool, but what makes it great, that jacket you're wearing is lined with cellulite, which actually helps increase your blood flow and helps your muscles recover faster to put you in better shape for tomorrow.
Okay, man. All right, I'm feeling the blood flowing already.
Yeah.
So now, a number of years ago, one of your competitors, Nike, they began to have their own stores, Nike stores. Now, you have your own stores, right? So you have a number in the Washington area and I guess around the country. So do you sell more products there than you do with the regular retailers that you sell your products to?
It's a combination. In the United States, we have a really good wholesale system. So partners like Dick's Sporting Goods or Pivot Sports or Foot Locker and Finish Line, people like that. Around the world, you don't have that. So you go to different markets. In China, there is no sporting goods channel. There is no way to get your product out there. So this past spring, we opened store number 1,000 around the world, actually in Mexico City. By the end of next year, we'll open another 200 to 300 stores in 2019 moving forward, the majority of which will be in China. But we have that balance and the ability, frankly, to control your destiny, because dealing through a wholesaler is difficult unless you really have the ability to articulate clearly how you want to show up and how you want to present the brand.
And
So we have the ability to
She
do that
didn't
at
show
our
up
own
yet.
store.
I left
Now, in
from
China, very
badge
often
with the front
on
desk.
there, I
Okay,
sometimes
she should
see
be here, yeah.
knockoffs of American.
She's coming in from outside. basically.
Goods and so forth. Are there knockoffs there you have to worry about, or is that not a problem there?
We've had several lawsuits, and I don't know if I'm the lawyer, but it's you're striving for that moment where people want to knock you off, and then all you want to do is protect yourself, obviously, when you can. But we've had some crazy lawsuits that have gone back and forth, and they've resolved. And the Chinese courts have been great to us too.
So let's talk about for a moment how your culture of your company. You were in the news recently for the nature of your inclusion and not including certain people in your company. Can you address the culture issue?
So the hard thing of building a business is that the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to build a house. I want to build a great house. And as you grow, you realize that house has become a building, and it's gotten a tall building. And the first thing is that for any entrepreneur is that as the CEO, I am fully responsible for everything that happens in my company. But what I'm required to do and where I'm accountable for is the actions we take when bad things happen. And I think we've been incredibly proactive when it comes to issues that arise, and this is something that's going to happen in any organization the size of 14,000 plus. And so we'll continue to make that, we'll continue to be proactive, we'll continue to invest into our culture to make sure it is inclusive, it is diverse, it is something that it is an equal opportunity for anyone who wants to join our brand, and we encourage that. And again, that's not just simply a statement, it's a statement because it's the best thing for our business.
So in diversity, in your materials you indicate, I think in materials I read, that roughly almost 50% of your workforce is diverse in one way. Is that
Yes.
accurate? And you go out of your way to look for a diverse employee base?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you look at the S&P 500, I believe there's a global inequity that's prevalent right now, and I think you're seeing a lot of this come up, and I think there's a massive opportunity for organizations to use this moment in time to really enhance. And again, this isn't a requirement, this isn't to be legislated, this is something that can actually, I think, be a generator for us. We have a $1.2 billion women's business. I don't feel like we get anywhere near enough credit for it, and I do believe if we had larger numbers as we continue to increase the number of diversity or especially women in leadership, I think you'll watch that number double and triple in years to come.
Okay, so talk about the athletes. When you sign up an athlete, is it a very arduous process? Let's suppose you want to get a new basketball player that's coming out of college and he's let's say a superstar. You and two others or three others are trying to get him. How do you do that? You have to go meet with him. You have to tell him how much money you're going to pay him. You have to show him the equipment. How long does that process take?
It's you have to work. I mean, to have the best, but athletes are different today, and again, trying to relate with a 20-something-year-old, you want to make sure that you're speaking to them, because today's athlete is incredibly sophisticated as well, as they understand they are a brand. They understand what they're bringing to the table, and they have a really good understanding of what their market value is, and they'll test that. But the way to win these athletes, it's not always through the front door. If you're showing up at it's Sun Tzu is the victorious army attacks the defeated enemy. If you're waiting at the negotiation table for that to be done, you're going to lose. When we signed Stephen Curry, for instance, it wasn't waiting to be one of those three shoes with Riley. There was a guy named Ken Bazemore who was an unsigned free agent who happened to just have his locker right next to Stephen. So we signed Ken Bazemore, and then we loaded Ken with product like on a daily basis. And it was this thing where his job was to help us sign Stephen. And then eventually Stephen just said, man, if they take care of you this well, imagine what they're going to do for me. And he helped him with the understanding, and that was, you have to play, chess with these things. It's certainly not checkers. So.
But are you looking at high school and college athletes all the time and see who's the best one with best personality and so forth? Are you scouting these kind of people and getting them primed for your approach?
We're always looking to find who is next. I think we've been incredibly proud of that. In 2015, we had all four major U.S. sports leagues MVPs, plus the #1 golfer and the #1 tennis player in the world. That's the kind of thing where you look at a year like that and say, can you replicate that? Remember, we're big enough as a company now that we can do anything. We're just not big enough that we can do everything. So we have to be thoughtful, we have to be strategic, is that we have to take sniper shots. And so our competitors have much greater resources than we do, but that is not an excuse, and it's why we still compete and why we believe that we're going to be #1.
Now, one of your products new is pajamas. Now, is that an athletic kind of thing, or what is that?
So it actually is what led to the top that you're wearing now, is where what makes Under Armour unique is, of course, the styling, the fit, and moisture management, all those things that people have always taken for granted about our brand. But the consumer actually wants or deserves more. And so Tom Brady actually brought to us this idea of this selling it lining, where because the way that he's played well into his 40s is because he actually, when he recovers, and I've seen bruised knees, elbows, he uses this wrap, and he believed in. And you've seen things from those copper bands and other things out there, but this is the first. It's actually FDA proven that it increases blood flow, which helps increase the speed at which you can recover, have your muscles back faster. So when you're playing from one day to the next, you can actually come back that much better. And he asked if we could do a pajama line, and we introduced that, and it was something where people were actively recovering at night. We said, why are they just actively recovering at night? What if we actually put it into their active wear too? So one of the things we'll be launching in the spring of 19 is something called Rush and something called Recover, which actually includes this recovery material into what you do. But you should have that sort of science project with everything.
Well, you're married to Giselle, you might need recovery, right?
I'm not going there.
Okay, so you're very well known for having a white chalkboard in your office, and you write sayings there. Is that a way that you teach people, or you encourage people, or motivate people? What is the theory behind that?
I've kept it since I started, and as an athlete, this is where coaches would keep everything from depth charts to slogans or sayings, and for me it's a place where we've always captured the real spirit and essence of the brand. And it would say things like overpromise and deliver, dictate the tempo. It says things like trust, it's built in drops and it's lost in buckets. It has sort of the things that make and really require the DNA of what is Under Armour.
Okay, so today you've built a great company and you've made a great deal of money by any normal human standard. So what do you do with rest and relaxation when you're not working right now? You have money, you can travel anywhere, you can buy anything. What is the outside pleasures that you really enjoy, other than interviews like this?
I love driving home, parking my car, walking next door to where my kids go to school, and watching my daughter play field hockey, or watch my son play football or play hockey. I think I've got a terrific family, and I'm very fortunate for that, and to have, I think, the ability now where you get to watch it sort of play out through the eyes of kids. And it's not easy maybe being our kids, is because of course my kids are required to only wear Under Armour all the time.
Suppose they were a Nike thing, what would happen?
That'd be bad. That'd be bad.
I mean, they wouldn't
do that.
They wouldn't perform as well either.
I've been running their little legs, telling them like, don't ever wear that. More importantly, like love the brand. It's important.
So, do you have any interest in owning a sports team? You obviously are involved with a lot of sports teams, but would you like to own one team itself or not?
I think one of the best things about my job is that Under Armour's undefeated. We go to a game and watch two teams play, and when it's nothing like watching. I was at the Northwestern Wisconsin game, and you walk in one room and it's ultimate empathy and I'm sorry. You walk in another room and it's high fives, and so that balance is something which is a lot better than living with the highs or lows, I think, of a team. So there's 32 good owners, and there's 30 good owners, and so the sports leagues, I think they're okay.
You're very, very young to be in this position. You're 46 years old, so you could do this for another 30 plus years if you wanted, but would you have any interest in going into something more important, private equity, or would you like to run for office ever, or go in an appointed position in government, or this is what you want to do?
What I love is there's an old story that I've told before, which is there's nothing like this. One time I was in a sporting goods store out in Washington, and I'm sitting there, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm watching this mom walk in with two little kids, maybe 8 and 10 years old, and she's got them both in the hands, and all of a sudden the little 8-year-old just goes, Mom, look, Under Armour, and she starts pointing and pushing, and the mom's like, don't go over there, the stuff's expensive, don't buy that, and the kids, I'm watching, I'm like, go, get away. Kid breaks away, and he runs over, he grabs an Under Armour shirt, and he pulls it over his head. He's still wearing a school shirt, and he pulls it down over his side, sticks his arm out, and his mom's distracted with the other one. She's trying something on with the other boy. And I watch this little kid, the neck's all jammed up under his collar, and he just walks over, he stands in the middle of the aisle, he goes, hey Mom, he goes, look at me, I'm wearing Under Armour, I can do anything. Like this.
Well,
And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this happen, and I just think to myself, that's brand. You know, brand is that little boy or that little girl that puts our gear on, believes that they can be a little more, they can run a little faster, jump a little higher. It may be the belief that they can make varsity, it may be the belief that, you know, they were anxious at the cafeteria and they were, you know, careful of where they were going to sit down, but today they were wearing Under Armour and they had that superpower. So hopefully, if I think about what I'd love to do, is I love being able to hopefully be able to gift that superpower to anybody in the world that gets to embrace and engage
now,
our brand.
when you were an athlete, you were not a superstar athlete, but now the people who are on your team who are better athletes, they come to you for jobs, or?
That happens sometimes, but no, if we're in the position, it's sports is I think one of the most important training grounds. I know that I wouldn't be doing Under Armour had it not been for, you know, having played a sport and been in football, and for the obvious reasons, but also for more, is that you learn team, you learn understanding. I think, you know, football is a game that is, you know, has great pressure on it right now, but the lessons learned, an America without football would concern me a lot more than America with football.
So a final question I'd like to ask is, let's suppose I'm going to an athletic store to buy apparel, and I have Adidas, I see Nike, and I see Under Armour. Why should I or anybody watching buy Under Armour? Is it better? Is it less expensive? Is it going to make you a better athlete? What's your presentation about why your equipment or apparel is better than your competitors?
So, number one, I could march a dozen scientists in here and tell you why we've had 16 PhDs work on developing the fiber or fabric or construction of that product, and the hundreds of hours of wear tests that we pour into everything that we do, the amount of focus that we have in making sure that every product is truly an advantage that's making someone better. And I want that to be trusted, and I want that to be known, but at the end of the day, I want the consumer to know that this is a brand with a soul. You know, I want them to know that this is a brand that is focused on innovation, that if it's Under Armour, it's got to be something making me better. That if I see you have an Under Armour logo, the first question I should ask is that Under Armour, what's it do? And the third thing is I'm really proud of our story, and I want people to be able to embrace and feel that too. When they engage with our brand, that they feel like they're a part of this, I think, amazing, one example of one of the amazing American stories.
Well, it's a great story, and I wonder if you ever thought of signing up private equity people as endorsers, because, you know, I mean, we're athletes too, and we can endorse. There might be people who might follow my endorsement, so you might think about that.
That's a small market with big opportunity for a high average order value, though.
All right.
So
Thank you very much for good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.